This is my project lesson plan for children with receptive language problems. This lesson plan is geared towards children kindergarten through 3rd grade. The objectives that are going to be addressed in this project are the goal, improving of use of vocabulary, and the objective to this is improving receptive vocabulary skills by pointing to the correct picture when named. A goal that also goes along with this is following directions. So the objective will be to follow simple 1 to 2 step directions. This project will address the children's vocabulary concerning spatial concepts. The spatial concepts will be taught. The spatial concepts that are going to be taught are above and below, as well as in front and behind. These words will be written on the board throughout the entire activity, above and below, as well as in front and behind, so we can reference these words as we are talking about them. Now, with this activity, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a couple different pictures and describe things that are above and below in the pictures. One child at a time will be asked a question. I will ask a question such as, is this snowman's nose above or below the button? Then the child will be asked to point to what I'm asking about, the nose, and he or she will identify that the nose is above the button. And then we can also do in front and behind. We can say, are these snowmen in front or behind these trees? The child will point to the snowmen and say that these snowmen are in front of the trees. Then we'll move on to a bit of a more difficult picture. However, this picture has a lot of options and different levels of difficulty for children, so this is a really good one. I like this one a lot. For example, we can talk about maybe one of my favorite, most difficult ones would be this woman right here. Is she in front or behind the window? And then you can talk about, is this truck above or below the doghouse? So once the child is able to point and identify without much correction above and below, in front and behind, then we can move on. Now, going through this, it's very important to always encourage the child. Yes, good job. That is behind the snowman, whatever it may be, and also reinforcing that by repeating the correct answer that the child says. And if they get it wrong, then let's correct them and ask them again. Well, are you sure that that snowman is behind the tree? And then we'll get them to say that it's in front, reinforce that and encourage, tell them it's a good job, and move on. So once that concept is grasped of those two spatial concepts, then we're going to move on to a little bit of a Simon Says type game. The children are going to use their bodies as objects. They're going to use a stuffed animal, a pumpkin, as well as a ball. Now again, we're going to ask one child at a time to pick up one of the objects. The instructor will identify the object and say, Johnny, go take this ball and put it under the table. Johnny goes, and whether he puts it under or above, we let him know what he did correct or incorrect. If he got it wrong, then again, we'll just kind of say, well, are you sure, that's underneath the table, and he can move it and put it in the correct place. This might be an activity that if the child is not quite understanding above or below in the pictures, this activity might work a little bit better for some children, because it is more graspable, because they can see that this ball is on top of the table and they understand that, as well as using words such as on top and under versus above and below might make it a bit easier for the child to understand that, and then we can move on to above and below. And then we can ask the children as a group to do things. Now, as a group, we need to make sure that they are walking to their destination, as well as they're keeping their hands to themselves. So we can tell them to go stand behind that green bookshelf. And they all go and they stand behind. Great job. Now I want you all to get under that table. And they all go have fun and get under the table. So they understand this in a more real physical sense. They understand this concept. And not only that, but they're able to identify it on something a little bit more difficult, like this in a picture. So again, we always need to make sure to encourage the children towards the right answer and repeat correct answers.